We're going to get started here in just a minute, but I do want to give one opportunity for Roy. Could you do a mic check with me real quick?
Mic check.
Perfect. You sound great, Roy. Thanks, and glad you can make it.
Good evening and welcome to the Indiana Department of Transportation's Town Hall meeting for the fiscal year 2022 to 2026 Transportation Improvement Program, commonly known by its acronym, the STIP, and we'll refer to it as the STIP for the rest of the meeting. The STIP is a 4-year federally required programming/planning document. It includes all projects that will be INDOT funded or INDOT sponsored, where federal funds will be placed into either the preliminary engineering phase, the right-of-way phase, or the construction phase. Also included in the STIP are larger projects, regardless of the funding source, that are normally considered to be regionally significant. Tonight's meeting, we will be starting out with a brief presentation. We will also be doing some Menti surveys to allow the audience to participate and answer a few questions if they would like to, and we do encourage that you do. And we will pause occasionally for question and answers, and at the end of the presentation, we will open up the floor for question and answers. So at this time, I will be turning over the floor to Roy Nunnally, who will go over the presentation. Thank you.
Actually, before Roy jumps in, I'm going to jump in and talk a little bit about the rules of engagement and how to use this meeting platform. So sorry, Roy, but you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer. I want to make sure that everyone is really comfortable with what we're using here. This is WebEx events. And in a virtual space like this, it's really important for everyone to remember we're all at the mercy of technology. So hang in there. If you experience any technical difficulty, getting a question answered or whatnot, or if you end up losing connectivity, just try to get back in as quickly as you can, or reach out in one of the multiple ways that you can. There's always a dial-in number available. As we go through this, I just want to remind people of just common courtesy kind of rules for engagement in a public meeting like this. Remember to be kind, courteous, and respectful of all attendees. All of the questions are there to help you clarify what you might not be well informed about or you want more information about. So we really encourage you to ask those questions, no questions too big or too small. But remember, please, don't use disparaging or off-topic comments, avoid profanity, and make sure that what you would share in this meeting could be shared publicly or should be shared publicly. If you do kind of break those rules in terms of your being disruptive and or profane, we are going to end up probably removing you from the meeting, unfortunately. So let's just keep it all above board and have a great meeting. We're going to use an online Q&A or the phone to submit any of your questions. If you're online, and I believe that most of our participants, if not all of our participants today, are using the WebEx form or the WebEx event meeting platform online today. And so all you would need to do is in the bottom corner of the right-hand corner of your window there, you're going to see a little arrow with Q&A. If you click on that, it's going to open up a dialog box. And if you have a question or a comment, it doesn't have to be just a question, you can go ahead and just type it in there. And then when it's the appropriate time, what I'll do is I will answer, or I'll ask those questions on your behalf. Or you can go ahead and raise your hand. And that is another way that you'll let us know, Maggie or myself know that you want to ask a question verbally. You'll have a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll answer those questions. If you're calling in from the phone, all you need to do is press *3 to raise and indicate to us that you want to speak and ask a question or have a comment. And that *3 also then lowers your hand. What we'd like to have happen is you just participate. When you have a question, go ahead and use that function. We'll insert that question into the dialogue as at the appropriate times. So the next thing I want to do is just really quickly run through some of the participant functions. So today's presentation is being recorded, as you probably heard at the top of this meeting. Your microphone and line is currently muted and can be unmuted by us during the comments or discussion at any point. Questions or comments can be submitted by the two methods that I just described earlier in the last slide. And you're going to be able to see the presenters in the participants panel along the right side of your screen. But the names of other attendees, so folks that are calling in as attendees, we're not going to share those names publicly for privacy reasons. Those calling into the meeting, again, remember that it's *3 to raise or lower your hand. And then we're also going to be using an application called menti.com. And this is going to be something I'm going to encourage you all to do. If you're using your computer or a mobile device, open another browser and type in www.menti.com. And it's super easy. If you haven't used this before, I'm going to walk you through the first one right now. We want to know from this group, how do you identify your interests in the STIP? So if you could go to menti.com on your mobile device or your new browser window and put in the code 9598009 and answer that question for us. There's going to be a list of potential categories or identity types. If you could do that, that would be great. And I'm going to look for results. They're starting to come in now. I love watching this. The bar chart just goes crazy. And we're seeing a variety of folks across the different types or identity types. And it looks like we are pretty close. A lot of local, state, and federal agency folks joining us today, alongside some of our transportation professionals, some members of the general public, and some MPO participants. So thank you for doing that. But that's how you're going to use Menti as we go through this. And at every break for Q&A, we're going to start with one of these Menti questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Roy Nunnally, who is going to walk us through the first segment of our presentation. Go ahead, Roy.
Thank you, Katie. So to start off this meeting, this is going to be our second virtual public involvement meeting. And of this year, this is our second series of them. We did do these public meetings, virtual public meetings in April of this year. And so with all the comments that we received, we had to make some significant changes to the document. So we decided to make those changes and fix some issues and restart this public involvement period. So we do welcome you here. So I want to talk about what is the STIP. So as Jay had mentioned, Jay Mitchell had just mentioned, the STIP is the Transportation Improvement Program. We call it the STIP. It is a federally required planning and construction documents. Our STIP is 5 years, but Federal Highway only recognizes only the 4 years. So that 5th year in our document is considered illustrative. The documents, as Jay has also mentioned, list all project and phases expected to be funded and within the 5-year period using federal funds or state-funded projects that are deemed as regionally significant. Our STIP follows a fiscal year, which starts in July through the 30th, and it includes all state and local transportation funded projects, as we say, from federal highway and federal transit funds, and also 100% state funds, for projects that are, again, regionally significant. So why is the STIP important? For one, it is a federally required document. Secondly, the STIP is a staged multi-year intermodal program of transportation projects. It is coordinated with other planning documents, whether that's with the state or our metropolitan planning organizations. It is developed in cooperation with our metropolitan planning organizations, public transit providers, and our regional planning organization as well. One of the key things about the STIP is that it must be compatible with our MPO partners, Metropolitan Planning Organization, MPOs, with their Transportation Improvement Program documents, which is very similar to our STIP document, and except for they focus more so on their regions and may have more local projects included. In our STIP, there are a number of projects from transit to bridge improvement. So with transit, typically we are paying for, we're looking at, and it includes operational, things that we're paying for, salary, and things of that nature, and also vehicle purchases using federal funds. That may be new rail cards, passenger rail carts, buses, and other types of vehicles. Also includes new bridges, bridge rehabs and reconstruction, and various maintenance activities such as bridge inspections, bridge painting, or debris removal under a bridge with a waterway. Also small structures that we consider to be culverts and pipes. So, these aren't like pipes to your home, but they're fairly large pipe system that you can see in the photo on the very lower left-hand side. They can vary, but they usually are fairly large, devices. The STIP also includes roadway improvements such as added travel lanes, turning lanes, reconstruction and resurfacing projects. We also include bike and pedestrian improvements as well. And that may include a number of safety improvements from crosswalks, bike lanes, curbs, ramps, sidewalks, guardrails, and also, we look at rail crossings, slide corrections where, debris and rocks is sliding down a certain terrain and blocking a roadway. So we repair all those, including operational improvements, such as intersection improvements where we're adding turning lanes, interchange modifications, where we're redesigning some of the interchanges to function more efficiently, modernized traffic signals, and intelligent transportation systems as well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Roy, so much. I want to take a moment before we jump into our Q&A session and our second poll and bring Jay back online. Jay wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of who's representing the DOT and other parties on the panel tonight. Jay?
Yes, thank you. We do have a panel tonight of INDOT experts, and that panel consists of Roy Nunley, who you just heard speak. Roy is the director of INDOT's Technical Planning and Programming Division. My name is Jay Mitchell. I work with Roy, and I am the supervisor of the Technical Planning section. With us tonight also is Michael McNeil, and he is the STIP coordinator for the state of Indiana. So the document you see, he is responsible for creating that document and putting it out on the web and making amendments to it, things of that nature. April Lucky is here tonight, and she is with INDOT's programming section, and she handles exclusively the programming software that we use to plan our projects and put them into the STIP itself. April has a long history of helping with the STIP, and actually she did develop the STIP for several years. Jason Castile is here tonight. We're glad Jason is here. Jason is from our transit section. So if you have questions about buses, transit in general, Jason is the person to talk to. Brandon Burgoa is here. Brandon is, he serves many hats. He wears many hats. He is a transportation planner. but more importantly, he serves as the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator for the state of Indiana. And he is also involved with, and he's currently managing the statewide scenic byway program. And we also have with us today a couple of experts from two of our districts within INDOT, and that will be the Crawfordsville district. Travis Cole is with us, and I think Travis is the capital programs manager for the Crawfordsville district. And also with us tonight we have Jacob Phillips. Jacob is with the Greenfield district. Jacob, I will put you on the spot briefly if you can. I think you're the Transportation Services Director, but I'm not sure. I didn't take a chance to look today. Can you help me out?
Yeah, absolutely. Both Travis and I are both the capital programs directors for the district, so we oversee the program development once we receive those projects from the Technical Services Division.
Thank you. That helps tremendously. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware that we did have a panel of experts here, and that panel will be heavily involved when we get to the Q&A period or the comment period and help us answer the questions. Thank you.
What a great segue, Jay. And we are in our very first Q&A session. We're going to start off each session with one of those Menti poll questions. So if you are in your Menti browser, go ahead, menti.com again, 9598009 if you're not already in, and answer the question, what area in the STIP is most important to you? While you're doing that, I want you to also be thinking about what questions do you have about the STIP? Roy's done a great job of kind of introducing what the STIP is and some of the background information about why and et cetera, all that good stuff. We really want to know what questions you might have about the STIP. And so at any point, I want you to feel comfortable typing in a question, or if you just have a comment, go ahead and type that in. Again, it's down at the right-hand side or right-hand corner of your window there. There's an arrow next to the Q&A. Click on that arrow, it will drop that Q&A box open, and you will see a box where you can just go ahead and enter your question. All right, I'm going to look to see what the results are looking like. So folks, panel, we're seeing in terms of the response to the question, what area or project in the 2022-2026 STIP is most important to you? We're seeing federal funding, project listing, micromobility, project list. I would assume it's similar to the project listing, bike and ped transit, safety projects. The website looks nice. All right, great. Let's see. Fixing existing lanes. Looks like Central Indiana is an area of interest or importance. All right, I'm going to give another moment or two. And I'm looking for any questions. Right now, we don't have any questions about the STIP, which is shocking because I would have a ton. But let's see. Okay, it looks like we're kind of coming to a standstill on our response to our Menti poll. I appreciate that input. Before we jump back into the presentation, Jay or Roy or anyone from the panel, anything that you want to clarify or expound upon from Roy's first segment?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to encourage the panel all to be thinking about during the next section, to also be thinking about what are some of those frequently asked questions that you kind of tend to get about the STIP from your perspective as it relates to the work that you do at the DOT. At this point, we're going to go ahead and move over to the next segment and go back to Roy, and he's going to start presenting on how the STIP is developed.
Thank you, Katie. So how the STIP is developed. We develop our STIP on a 2-year cycle that is amended monthly. Now, we are considering some changes to that, whereas we may likely change that so that we don't have to do it as frequent so we can spend more time ensuring that the document is properly reviewed, and we have enough lead time to ensure that we can weather any issues. So that's something that we are working on. But Indiana has both a decentralized and centralized planning programming process. In that decentralized, we have 6 INDOT districts throughout the state, and we also have statewide asset management process coordinators, NPOs, local public agencies, and transit coordinators. All these are able to upload information to us that eventually gets programmed into our STIP. And it's centralized where that the programming process is handled within our central office, which is in Indianapolis. Stakeholders and public input is critical for our STIP, and those typically comes from our districts, our NPO, RPO partners, as well as those online. But you see the chart on your right, and that is what we consider to be our program management team. Within that team, we have 4 asset teams, one being bridge, the other one being roadway. Roadway is everything from geotech, which means there's rock slides or there's some issues with site distancing, like there's a hill or a curve, or pavement conditions. That's handled through that group, that asset team. And then we have mobility asset team, and they handle everything from access management to added travel lanes to bike and pedestrian and those type of activities. And then last but not least, we have the safety asset team, where they handle just a slew of everything that pertains to safety. And that can also include pavement, intersection improvements that can be used for safety. Bike and pedestrian can be considered safety, depends on the funding source as well. And so they all kind of tie together. In the middle of that, you see the program management group known as the PMG. In that PMG, they have directors that specialize in each of the bridge, roadway, asset, and what we call technical services and finance. And their job is to make sure that they are the owners of our asset management process. Now, it's important to understand how the district relates to all of these asset teams. So the districts essentially develop an annual call for a project process. And they develop that for each of the asset team groups, prioritized by their district. The asset teams in themselves, each of the 4 asset teams, they have a representative from each of the districts, plus planning and others. And so their job is to take a statewide prioritization approach. So you have the district, they're prioritizing projects based on their district needs, and then they are submitting those projects to the asset teams. And then the asset teams are prioritizing that more so on a local system, or not a local, statewide priority. And then the PMG are making sure that those projects that are being selected, the PMG determines what funds goes where, and to make sure that we are hitting our performance targets for each of the asset, whether that's a bridge performance, roadway performance, congestion performance. They oversee that to ensure that that happens. And then the STIP is approved by our federal partners, Federal Highway and Federal Transit Authority. As far as STIP development activities, now this slide was based off of our typical STIP update activities, which typically start, November of each year, or not each year, every other year. And so in the early stages of the process, we are drafting a list of proposed projects, and we are coordinating those projects with our MPO partners. From that process, we are coordinating between the STIP and the TIP documents between INDOT and the MPOs And then, months later, we also working on the verbiage, some of the targets, performance targets that we have set for our interstates, for safety and what have you. And then also gathering our funding information. And then from that stage, the last part of the stage is the 45-day comment period when we publish the document, which is where we're at right now. And at that point, we have a series of public meetings. And then based on the comments received, we are making adjustments to the STIP document. And that's usually in March or May, but for this go round, it'll be December, January. After that, we get all that information. We take your public comments and we respond to those and we make the necessary changes. And we put the comments in our appendices, and then we give that final draft document to Federal Highway for their review and FTA for their review and hopefully approval. As far as how the STIP document fits in with our other plans, most of you may be aware that we have various planning documents. And so most of our document starts off with more of the longer range term. So we have our multimodal freight plan, and that deals with projects and needs well out into the future, 20, 25 years plus in some cases. And those include, freight trucks, freight rail, freight aviation, marine ports, all those things as well. And then we also have what we call the long-range transportation plan. Now, our long-range transportation plan covers a period, well beyond 20 years. And it is not project specific at this stage. But the Next Level Indiana program serves as our 20-year list of projects. And so with that, the 20-year, the Next Level Roads program is the governor's, our Governor Holcomb's program that was started in 2018, which is a 20-year plan to fund roads and bridges throughout the state. That document outlines approximately about $60 billion in investments in Indiana highways. So this is our fully funded plan. So that is our longer term plan. But when we, going down to our medium term plan, which is our asset management plan, which is our 10-year federally required document. Same thing with a long range plan is a 20 plus year federally required document. And then our strategic asset management plan, which is what we look at, as a whole of how we want to maintain our assets. And assets may also include equipment. It may include personnel. So with that, that feeds into our 5-year construction plan, which we also consider to be our STIP. Now, it's important to understand that the STIP does not include all projects. It just includes projects that have some federal component to it or state projects that may be regionally significant. But if you want a listing of all the projects, we have what we call the Next Level Indiana, Next Level Roads Indiana. And there's an online map. All you have to do is type in Next Level Roads. There's an online interactive map where you can click on the different nodes and information will pop up regarding active project, future projects. You can just show the bridge or safety or local projects, and also programs of projects. For example, we may have community-based programs, and you can see what those projects are. So it's a pretty nifty tool to use with the STIP document. So how do you get involved in the planning process? We encourage you to get involved in the project discussions early, frequently, and strategically. So if you are in a metropolitan area, a major metropolitan area, likely you are covered by what we call a metropolitan planning organization. And so that we call them the MPOs. The MPOs have regular public technical and policy board meetings to discuss projects, policies, and future needs. And those meetings are typically open to the public. So that's an opportunity to to get involved into the planning process, particularly early on. We also have regional meetings, more so with our stakeholders, but oftentimes we are working with our MPO partners, our stakeholders, our RPO, which are regional planning organizations in our districts, and they often provide information back up to us. So when you're getting involved with those agencies, they're passing that information back up to us. However, the MPOs have more local information on what's going on and planning needs to address their needs. And if you're in a non-metropolitan area, that we have the regional planning organizations, and we have about 15 of those across the state. And we'll talk about those later. But as far as notifications, you can get it on our listserv. The public is notified of the STIP in multiple ways, from media to social media releases, legal notices, listservs, and others. Again, you can get on the listserv for INDOT in the STIP and Long Range Plan Project, and we'll tell you how to get there as well. You can also get engaged with the STIP. We have the ongoing 45-day comment period right now, and that occurs every 2 years. But every month or every other month, we also have amendments to our STIP document. And these are formal amendments. It's a formal process where we have a 7-day comment period on that as well. So when there's notification on amendments, that'd be a great opportunity to get your feedback on our documents. We also have public meetings, and there's opportunities for you to provide comments in various forms. We are having 4 virtual public meetings that is available on the phone and also on WebEx events. We had one yesterday, and then today, and then our next few meetings are going to be tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and Thursday, or tomorrow again at 6 o'clock in the evening. Now, it's important that we kind of split these meetings up by districts or areas. So yesterday was the southern area of the state. Today is the central area of the state. And what we mean by, the southern and central, we have representatives that can answer questions within those regions, but we can take any questions statewide. But the likelihood and chance of us having a more direct response to those questions by a region in the region that we're kind of focusing on is greater. But we will take down, if there's some on the line that have questions that are outside the central part of Indiana, we'll definitely take those questions down and get a response back to you. As we know, that these meetings are recorded and available online, so after tomorrow, we should be able to post these videos and the PowerPoint slides on our INDOT website. Presentation and materials will also be made available online. We're also partnering with our state libraries to cascade notifications. So flyers have been sent out to them for them to post that will direct people to our sites and to these virtual meetings as well, and they can log in on the local libraries PCs. So we definitely are trying to get the word out. We also sent notifications out to our local transportation assistance program, LTAP, that basically looks at a lot of the local government. So as far as comment forms, you can find comment forms on our website at www.in.gov, /INDOT/3132 .htm. You can also mail your comments to INDOT to Michael McNeil with the attention of transportation planning, and you can go to 100 North Senate Avenue, room N758, Indianapolis, Indiana 46204 is our area code, or you can email draft STIP, and that's draft STIP, one word, at indot.in.gov. as far as how we address comments, so it's very important. Your comments matter, your voice matters. So that was one of the reasons why we were able to make some changes to our document in our documents. But any comments received by INDOT via the STIP comment form or draft STIP, or if you want some other items, there's INDOT for you, where all those comments are processed and sent to the appropriate areas of INDOT. So if you have a issue on potholes, lighting, or the STIP, or the long-range plan, or just had some questions, INDOT for you is a really one-stop shop place where they have people online 24 hours a day to take and process your question. And so again, if it's a STIP or long-range plan related item, that does come to our group. But those comments and responses are documented and coordinated through the agency's communication division so that we can understand who's making comments, where those comments are coming from, how are they handled, and to ensure that we're providing consistent information. Comments received from this 45-day comment period review in these virtual meetings will be included in the appendices of the final draft STIP document. And so, and in the same as with our comments on the STIP amendments for the 7-day comment period, those will be documented, processed, addressed, and included in the revised STIP version of appendices.
Perfect. Thank you for that explanation, Roy. We're going to move into our next Q&A session, and a Q&A session is only as good as the number of questions that we actually get to answer. So I'm going to encourage anyone who's in attendance today to go ahead and submit those questions now. And in the meantime, we'd love to know where you're dialing in or participating from. So using menti.com again, what zip code is your primary residence in? 9598009 at menti.com is the code you want to use. And then again, I'm looking for questions, and you just got to be bold. You got to put a question out there. I promise you, you'll get an answer. Well, you might not get a full answer, but you'll at least get we'll come back to you answer. But we do want to try to answer any questions you have. So we are starting to get in some zip codes. And my wonderful friend Maggie is telling me, she's doing the calculations and telling me exactly where these zip codes are. So hang tight. Again, go ahead and let us know if you have a question or a comment. All right. So for everyone's information, it looks like we have folks that are calling in from Fishers and Lafayette, McCordsville, and of course, we got some Indy folks calling in. Perfect. And looks like Greenfield. Okay. All right. Still not seeing any questions come in. I know we have a little bit smaller group tonight, so that could be part of the reason, but or we're just doing a really great job explaining it. I should say Roy's doing a really great job explaining. So that being said, at any point you can go ahead and ask a question. It could be midstream during one of the segments, or it could be during the Q&A session. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and back over to Roy for I believe it's our final segment.
Thanks, Katie. So I'm going to talk about some of our partners and then what their roles are. So the INDOT district, again, we have 6 districts across the state. Right now, we're focusing on the central part of the state, which will be Crawfordville District and Greenfield districts. But we also have Vincennes, Seymour, and LaPorte and Fort Wayne, as you can see here on the map. But the districts they really serve as our front line in terms of coordination with our stakeholders and local officials. The districts are responsible for short-term planning, programming, asset management, local coordination, and project management. They also are responsible for overseeing a lot of their construction program activities. The districts are also responsible for submitting projects and needs for their annual call. So often that's why it's important for you to get engaged with your district partners. And again, there's INDOT for you. If you had comments, they'll get to the right people, including us. But that's a great avenue if you have questions, concerns, or issues, needs that needs to be addressed. That the district are your can be your starting point. The districts and program managers and project managers also work closely with our metropolitan planning organizations, or MPOs, and the regional planning organizations for TIP amendment activities and projects that may get put into other asset plans. The district office and staff participate in the MPO's technical advisory committees and policy boards, so they are grafted into those groups. And they also participate in select public hearings and are active members of the asset management team that we discussed earlier. So please, please, please make sure you're able to get engaged with your respective district areas. And this is just where you can get access to that information. Again, there's INDOT for you, or if you're on the phone, 1-855 INDOT for you, or that is 1-855-463-6848. And then there's also links on the page for the different districts. Even though we have 6 districts, we also have in the lower right corner the central office email contact information as well. So you can click on any of those links, and or I say click on it, I keep click on this page, but go to any of those links and provide your comments in it to get to the right people. MPOs, or Metropolitan Planning Organization, they are also very critical and also serve as our front line for the locals, for state and local projects. There are a total of 14 metropolitan organizations across the state. And MPOs are basically policy boards of organizations created and designed to carry out transportation planning processes in their planning area. So a lot of the activities that they do, those are usually federally required activities. So we do work closely with them. The MPOs, also serve as a forum for local governments to provide short and long-term plans to address identified concerns. And also they are responsible for their transportation improvement program, which is similar, we not call it the TIP, which is similar to our STIP. They too also use a 5-year, for the most part, document. And again, that 5th year is not recognized by Federal Highway. Federal Highway only recognized the first 4 years of those. It's a 5 years TIP document. Together with the INDOT districts, they serve as a primary source of local input and are fundamental cooperating partners in the multimodal transportation planning process. RPOs are, I would say, similar to metropolitan planning organizations, but we have a total of 15 across the state, and they are regional planning organizations, and they serve more of a transportation planning needs for small town, small urban areas of the state that are not covered by the MPOs. Now, if you notice on the map, you're going to have some areas that are considered regional planning organization that are also the same as metropolitan planning organization planning areas, and that's fine because there's a lot rural areas in those areas. So they're kind of working together for that. But their planning activities are aimed at supporting INDOT Central and District Office transportation planning. And I appreciate your participation in this. And then I'm gonna turn this back over to Katie so that we can get some additional survey and information addressed.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. Again, I feel like I might be a little bit of a broken record tonight, but you know how to use the Q&A. Go ahead if you have any final questions. This is going to be your last opportunity to ask those questions in the live meeting. Of course, at any point you do have questions. You might sit, 2 hours from now, you might go, oh, I wish I would have asked that. Roy ran through all of those different ways that you can still ask those questions. There is a 45-day window, and we want to hear from you. So please do. And if you are here representing maybe a constituency or a portion of your community, and you think that it's important to be able to share this information with those in your community, what I encourage you to do is to go ahead, and when we've got that information online, the recordings and whatnot, I'd like you to go ahead and share those with your friends and families, neighbors, communities, whomever you think might have interest. In our very final poll, I'd love to hear a little bit of feedback on how you found this information tonight. Did you find it useful or helpful? Again, using menti.com, if you could use the code 9598009 and answer the question, overall, did you find the information useful and helpful or helpful? And I'm going to look to see. So far, so good. I like seeing that. Great. Great. Our results are coming in. We're in that somewhat helpful to helpful and very helpful, which is awesome to hear. If it wasn't helpful, I would hope that you would take an opportunity now or sometime in the near future to get any questions clarified. If you have comments, please, again, take that opportunity to share those with us. All input is important, and we want to hear from you. Before I kind of wrap this up for the night, I want to turn it back over to my co-host Jay and ask him if he wanted to say a few final words.
Yes, thank you. I did want to point out that the presentation that you saw tonight will be available on our website. You can go there in a day or so and get that presentation. It will stay up on the website for quite some time if you want to come back to it at some time, and I think you can probably even download it from there. So it will be available. You can, I can't stress enough, we do want to hear from you. If you have a comment, if you have a question, please submit that comment to us. You can submit it, as Roy pointed out, through INDOT for You. You can go directly to the STIP webpage on INDOT's website. A simple search engine of Indiana Department of Transportation, or even INDOT STIP, it will get you there. And you can, there is a interactive location there for you to put in your comment. And we will respond to your comment, and it will show up in the comment listings for the STIP itself. A few questions come up. You asked about what are some questions about the STIP that come up? And here's one that often comes up, at least it has in the past. And that is, so if the federal government requires you to have a 4-year STIP where it's a programming document for 4 years, a plan, so why INDOT do you have this 5th year? You're trying to be different. You keep telling us you got this 5th year, but it's not real because it's illustrative. What's going on here? Well, I'll explain what's going on here. For years, we have had a 5-year production plan, and that plan is pretty well locked down. And when we will put the STIP out, it will be 4 years, the first 4 years of that 5-year production plan. And we often got the question, not necessarily in STIP meetings, but hey, so what's in the pipeline on that 5th year? Can you show it to us? Why aren't you showing it to us? So we thought it would be a good idea to just go ahead and include that 5th year in the STIP itself so that you can see as a member of the public what's planned in the future, the 5th year that more than likely will be moving forward into the STIP itself. Also, some of those projects that are listed in that 5th year Should we have another project in year 4 that year 3 that runs into some sort of a production problem, could be related to finding something underground or something else related to the environmental study that would delay the project. So that project will not probably go on time. So it will be rolled back to probably the 5th year, and then something in the 5th year that is viable to move forward. We would then amend that into the STIP itself into the year that it would be appropriate for. I thought I'd bring that up for everybody. Still looking for questions, comments? If you have them, please bring those up. Earlier in the meeting, in one of the polls, we did ask what's your primary interest in the STIP, and we got some pretty interesting things. And usually it's funding, obviously. So what kind of funds do you have? What's available? That is listed in the STIP, the available federal funds for the next 4 years, and they're estimated in some cases because we only know what our appropriation is for the next year or 2 at any given time. So the first 2 years of the STIP are pretty well locked down. After that, it's a very good estimate of the funding that will be coming through from the federal level and also from the state level. And and we may be seeing some additional money coming through with the recent authorization bill. I don't have it written down properly, but it's the bipartisan infrastructure bill is sort of how it's being referred to. There have not been any appropriations for that yet, but we do anticipate there will be some additional funding coming at some time in the future. We will be notified when that happens. And when it does happen, what we will do is we will amend our STIP document to reflect any additional funds that come in. And then that might even mean that some projects can be advanced at that time. We're not there yet, but if we do get there, once we get the information, we will no doubt be amending the STIP at that time. I still don't see any questions. I encourage you to still submit questions. We have time left. Micromobility was something that was mentioned. And what is that? What's micromobility? Well, that's somewhat new. In the last several years, we've seen micromobility. It's sort of a catch-all phrase for short trips, usually in urban areas, usually within the area itself, and using modes of transportation that are not necessarily automobile. So that is oftentimes bicycle, pedestrian, electric bikes at times, and we're seeing a lot in some of our cities, these scooters popping up, and those actually are micromobility. And what we are charged with on our end is learning more about that and what is the impact to our overall transportation system, and how can we accommodate that micromobility in a manner that it is a seamless transition with our system itself, so that one, it's safe, and that's primarily our major concern. It's safe, it's viable, and regulated to some extent. In most cases, these sort of micromobility things, at least with the scooters, are handled by the local municipalities. So I thought I would point that out. Brandon Bergoa from our staff, since someone did bring that up, he is actually charged with coming up with a study on micromobility to determine some of those questions, what it is, what it means to INDOT, what's happening now, and what is likely to happen with micromobility in the future. One of the neat things about micromobility, especially in a large urban area, is anytime someone takes a bicycle or they walk or they take another form of transportation other than their automobile, that frees up space on the street or the transportation network and reduces congestion within the city. And that results oftentimes in an improved sense of living in that community. There's the cars are polluting less, there are fewer of them out there. So I thought I'd point that out as well. Still looking for questions. I would like to point out that you can still submit those questions on our website. And I don't know if Roy mentioned it or not, but we still accept mail. So if you would like to mail that question or comment to us, you can mail it. It may take a little longer to get to us, but we will get it eventually, and we will answer it.
Yep, and Jay, I wanted to reaffirm that when we post this presentation online, you'll be able to get all of that contact information. If you weren't able to write it down, it'll be in the presentation. There'll be a PDF of it right there on the website. So just give us a couple days to get that out there.
Will do. Thank you. We
Yeah.
appreciate that. I thought I'd just kind of touch on some things. What are some of the other things that INDOT does? One thing, I don't know if people are fully aware of this, but we have a lot of old bridges in the state, or bridges that are older, and they tend to, at some point, they're going to reach the end of their service life. Some of those bridges are historically important, or they are very unique as far as their structure and design. We try our best not to demolish those bridges, but find a secondary life for them. And we actually have a website for those bridges, and they are identified on the website, and it's kind of an adopt a bridge program. So what that means is there's a bridge available. It's no longer useful for the current transportation system. It probably doesn't meet the sufficiency rating. It's old, and it would probably cost more to rehab it and keep it in service, but it could have a secondary life. A lot of those bridges are being adopted by trail users, or not trail users, but sponsors of trails. And some of them end up with a secondary life on a trail itself. I know the Monon Trail has at least one bridge, and I think it is from the city of Crawfordsville. There's a bridge in a few of the state parks that were formerly highway bridges, so you will see them. And when they're in the state park, they're for pedestrian, bicycles, and lower traffic and lighter traffic. So that does happen. We don't just uniformly tear down every old bridge, especially if it's important as far as its historical importance. So I did think I'd bring that up. We're actually at the end of the meeting, and I would like to thank everyone for attending tonight. We would like to get more questions or comments. I'm sure you have some, and we would be more than happy to answer those. Please submit them, and as noted, if you think it's something lighter, I should have brought that up, or I didn't, and I want to send it in, submit it, and we will get an answer for you. Hey, we also have a customer service line. It's 1-855-463-6848, and a website called INDOT4U. It's INDOT4U.com. And on both of those sites, you can enter just general questions about transportation systems, or more likely complaints. Like, I see a pothole, and when's that going to get fixed? Are you aware of this? And you can submit something there. Or you see some damage on the roadway from a prior accident, and you want to know, is that going to be taken care of? Or you have a complaint about, probably this time of year, might be snow removal. You can submit those comments, and INDOT will respond, and they will respond and catalog those responses so they make sure that they respond. And usually we're all charged with getting an answer out within a very short period of time. So I did want to mention that for everyone. We are now past the end of the time for the meeting tonight. I'd like to thank everyone once again for joining in on the Indiana Department of Transportation's Town Hall meeting for the fiscal year 2022 to 2026 Transportation Improvement Program, commonly known as the STIP. Thank you all very much for attending. If you do have follow-up questions, please send them in. Thank you very much.